Have you started dating someone? Everything seems to be going well. They say all the right things, they come on strong. And just as fast as it started, the slow fade gradually kicks in, and before you realize, this amazing person that you connected with, that you matched with, seemed to be fading away and leaving you in a state of confusion, and you didn't understand what just went wrong. Can you relate to this? The fact is, there is one key indicator that we all tend to overlook, and I myself have done this in the past. But eventually, when I learned to master this one tool that I am about to share with you here, it changed the way I connect with people in general. And most importantly, you would learn how to spot red flags early on, not just in dating, but with people in general. If I were to tell you, oftentimes the red flag starts with you. Yes, you may wonder why. Now let me ask you, how often do you make a conscious effort, or how often do we make a conscious effort to communicate our needs and ask for clarity when something isn't working well? There's too much of dating advice on how to pull away, how to take your power back and act unbothered. Unfortunately, this isn't going to get you what you want. The only way to get what you want and weed out people who are not right for you is to learn how to communicate effectively the secure way. As you are watching this video, I would like you to take a moment to step back and go back to revisiting what was it like in your last relationship. Any relationship for that matter. This can be your relationship with your siblings, your parents, your family members. It doesn't have to be limited to your romantic relationship. Now, if you have a difficult relationship with your family, your parents, or your siblings, that is something that you want to introspect. Do you recall the times when you held back or when you swept things under the rug to avoid conflict when things got tough? Or maybe you just waited for far too long until you hit a breaking point before you had that difficult conversation because you finally had enough. We can learn so much about a person in the way they communicate with others during good times, but especially so during difficult times. A person's ability to communicate with us will reveal so much about how this person will be able to show up in their relationships. If someone isn't capable of communicating clearly, directly on simple things, you cannot expect much from them because everything else may just seem too much or too challenging for them. Similarly, if someone's communication style is very shallow, conversations are always centered around material possessions, superficial matters like material possessions, gossip, and judging of others, then this is likely an individual who lacks emotional depth and has deep insecurities. Here's a simple fact, yet a very powerful one. And once you learn to master this and become an effective communicator yourself, you will no longer be interested in dealing with those who aren't capable of communicating well. And once you have mastered this, you will be able to move on and spot red flags early on with your dating prospects. In today's video, we are going to talk about how you can learn to judge someone's character from the get-go using this 5 communication approach that can save you a lot of time, endless guesswork that is quite exhausting, and most importantly, avoid a potential heartbreak because no one wants to experience a heartbreak. Now, learning these 5 crucial signs will help you to spot their true personalities, or rather give you a hint of their true personalities that can help you make an informed decision whether this is someone that you can explore a connection with or build a connection with for the long term. My name is Veena Raji. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Now, this channel is dedicated to talking about childhood trauma, attachment styles, and healing from narcissistic abuse, something that I have worked through on my own over the last couple of years without any professional help. And I have started this channel to help those who are currently on their healing path, hoping that this information can help you just as much as it helped me. And if you are new here, I would really appreciate if you can help to like, subscribe, share, comment down below. That would help me to grow the channel and reach more people so I can continue to build this community. And I would also know that more people are looking for such contents, and I will be more committed to making contents as I move forward. The first sign is accountability. Now, when you meet someone new, it is hard to make a judgment. However, as you invest your time and energy, you can start observing if they take accountability in the things they talk about. One of the most common things that they would always do is to blame it on others, situations, circumstances. And the common phrase that they would often use is the one phrase that I absolutely despise, and that is, I don't have a choice. I didn't have a choice, which is a victim mindset. If you look closely, you can hear them giving away details about their character in how they describe about themselves. It's simple things like, I hate that job, but I don't have a choice because fill in the blanks. An accountable person, on the other hand, would communicate this differently. They would say that I do not like the current job and I am exploring other opportunities. Or maybe I am upskilling so that I can move on to a different role or a different industry. Or there could be other valid reasons like visa, or maybe they are bound by contract, which often shows that there is thought that is being put into their decision-making process, which gives us a vibe of someone that is thoughtful, someone that is responsible and accountable. Pay a close attention to the things they say. Now, if they seem frustrated and unfulfilled and they don't back it up with what they are doing to turn the situation around, these are clear signs of someone who doesn't take accountability for their own actions. Instead, they would always make excuses for all the choices. Now, a lot of these behaviors are somewhat learned through model behaviors from their surroundings, especially family dynamics or the circle of friends that they are surrounded by. However, at some point, you really need to learn to accept people at face value for what they are instead of trying to reason for their excuses. Now, understand that we can be compassionate, we can have empathy towards another person. However, do not give away your compassion and empathy too soon, because a lot of times we get so caught up making excuses for this bad behaviors because we tend to be too generous with our empathy and compassion. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't. You can have empathy and compassion. However, make sure that you remain grounded, that you do not overlook these red flags. Someone that doesn't take accountability lacks character and personality, and there's really nothing any one of us can do if they are not committed to making a change. Next, we have judgmental. Universally, everyone is judgmental to some extent. However, how they judge someone can give you a little insight into how they view the world and the people around them. This is something that can be caught very early on when you are getting to know someone new. Understand that people can present themselves in a certain way, and they would often do it in the best possible way. However, they will not be able to change their entire personality. So if you are observant enough, you will be quick to pick on the cues when they pass judgmental remarks on the seemingly simple things. Some simple examples of someone who is highly judgmental would be someone making a remark of a mutual friend of their supposed choice of living, he or she wasting so much of money on rent for a fancy place which seemed unnecessary, making remark on their lifestyle in terms of how they spend, taking a dig at someone's physical appearance, how they do their hair, how they wear their makeup, or how they dress. Here's the truth. You can have an opinion. Your opinions are personal and valid. However, what you need to pay attention to is how they convey these opinions in their communication from their tone and diction. Are they stating an opinion, or are they making a judgment in a condescending way, in a way to put the other person down? You best believe if someone can say these things to you, they will most likely say the same about you to someone else. Some judgmental people are highly critical of people around them. So if you are dealing with one, you want to know right away, because no one can dim your light more than someone who is highly critical and judgmental. Have you come across someone who is overtly or covertly superficial and all they talk about is their career, how much money they make, where they spend it, the holidays and how much it costs, the expensive parties that they go for, the expensive makeup that they buy, their clothes, and their whole lifestyle? Now, when you have conversations, you can feel it energetically when they lack emotional depth to be able to hold conversations that are beyond material comforts. Now, don't get me wrong. It is not wrong to have a nice home, to have a nice car, to be able to afford nice things. As a matter of fact, I think that everyone should really treat themselves well if they can afford it. However, if the communication with them is often centered around external achievements and materials, these are very strong indications of someone that is highly superficial and they find validation through material comforts. I can speak from my personal experience because there was a time when I was doing extremely well and I had all these external material comforts that made me feel really good on the outside. However, that did not change how I felt about myself on the inside, and as a result, that somewhat made me become more critical of my surrounding, the people around me, and that was obviously coming from a place of my own insecurities, my own unhealed trauma. And obviously this is a few years ago before I had been able to work through my own personal challenges, and I'm not afraid to admit that because I understood where it was coming from. So I made that conscious decision in wanting to make that changes. I wanted to develop better communication skills so that I can have more depth and be able to open myself up to connecting with people in a more meaningful way. So if you find yourself connecting with someone whose whole conversation is based on superficiality, then these are people who are emotionally immature, they lack depth, and they are also deeply insecure, and most of the time they also lack that emotional intelligence or the ability to connect with people in a meaningful way. So in the long run, individuals like this will make you feel empty and lonely because real human connections are formed through emotional connection. And if you are connecting with someone who only displays superficiality, then this is a sign that this is a connection that will not work out in the long run. The next one, lack of empathy. Now, this is super important. As Dr. Ramani would say, when the first sign to look out for when connecting with someone is empathy. Now, empathy is a key driver in the way we connect, relate, and nurture a bond with someone. So if you are dealing with someone who lacks empathy, take it as an early sign to run for the hills, because someone who lacks empathy will never be able to understand the struggle of others, and they are simply incapable of being there for someone emotionally. Someone who lacks empathy can show subtle signs in the early stages of connecting, and in a dating scenario, here is how you can spot them. Now, these are just a few examples because there could be so many other reasons and examples that I could give. However, I'm just going to move on very quickly onto these examples. Let's say if you're telling someone that you have financial struggles due to a job loss or during a period of unemployment, and they would still suggest that you go for a nice fancy meal, or they're talking about some holiday plans, or they are talking about some retreats that you could do together. Now, this just goes to show that there is a lack of consideration on their part, because they are not even taking into consideration of someone who has been unemployed for a certain period of time that could potentially have some financial constraints. Now, another example could look like maybe you're experiencing some family issues, for example, and they don't really show much interest, and even if they do, they're always trying to talk over, they're talking about how they are having work stress or how busy they have been. So it's almost like they sort of like show a very superficial, a very shallow interest, not really taking your issues into account, because they are actually more concerned about talking about their own personal struggles. And of course, in the early stages of talking to someone, pay attention to how they talk about those people in their life, someone that they are close to. If someone is going through some kind of challenges, be it their close friends or their family members, just pay attention to see if they are offering to do something to help them, maybe financially or emotionally, or to offer some moral support. You want to pay attention to the subtle clues that they give you in terms of how they perceive their struggles, what they say about those people, and most importantly, what they are doing to be there for that person, to extend the support. Now, the common theme is to observe that they don't really care about your current issues or struggles. They are more focused about their own issues and how it affects them. Now, this is a clear sign of someone that is a bit more self-absorbed, and they are not really interested in what someone else is dealing with. They are more focused on their own well-being and what's happening in their life. So do not overlook these subtle clues. You can find them, and if you spot them, Trust your instincts. Your gut feelings will not lie. Do not make excuses, because a lot of times when we go back to dissecting what happened and how we overlook certain signs that were present, that's simply because we did not listen to our gut feelings and we just made excuses to overlook those red flags. Do not do that. Always, always, always trust your gut feelings, because your gut feelings will never lie. Now, the last sign, now this is super, super, super important, which is respect. Now, this one is huge and non-negotiable in my book, and the first sign that you should look out for from the get-go. And if you will, by all means, go ahead and spend the time analyzing if you feel respected in their presence. While people can always fake in the early stages of meeting someone and connecting with someone, even the nicest people cannot hide their character flaws for a long time. So if you're getting to know someone new, you can observe these things in the early stages from the way they connect and show up. Now, one of the subtle ways to really look at it, and I would say that we all tend to overlook on these little things, is how they show up from the get-go. Now, do they offer an apology if they arrive late for the date? Or do they call you when they say they would call you? Do they text you when they say they would text you? Do they ask for your opinion when they pick a place for a date? Or they just insist on going to that one particular place that they have selected without offering you a choice or asking for your opinion? Or do they leave your messages on read and they come back without an explanation? Do they apologize if they have to cancel? Do they have habit of planning on something and canceling on you, flaking at the last minute? So these are all subtle indicators. Now, of course, don't get this wrong. No one needs to be available for anyone at all times. As a matter of fact, we should all prioritize ourselves. We should be busy. We are working adults. We have priorities. We have bills to pay. But then these are basic signs of respect for someone. Because when you overlook these signs, trust me that this will eventually start weighing on you as you continue to explore a connection with this person. Now, another way to observe is the easiest one, which is how they treat others. For example, if you're in a restaurant, how do they connect? How do they relate to the waitress? Are they rude? Are they nice? And especially if there's a slip up, how do they respond to that? That would be really interesting to watch. But of course, slip ups don't always happen in such scenarios. So observe how they also speak about the people in their lives, their friends, especially their exes. Are they taking accountability, or do they blame everything about their ex? Pay attention to especially how they speak about their exes, because someone who speaks bad about their exes is revealing who they truly are as a person. So all this will give you subtle signs and clues if this person has at least a basic level of respect for others. However, it's not going to guarantee that you would be able to gauge who they really are at this stage. But then these are the most basic way to gauge if this person can show up as a respectful human being. And the moment you feel the slightest disrespect, that is your cue to leave and to never look back in the early stages, unless they can come back and offer you a valid apology and back it with a changed behavior. The book Attached, written by psychologists Amir Levine and Rachel Heller, describes how secure communication is the best approach to connect with others. And with secure communication, you will win regardless of the situation. Now, if someone is wrong for you, with secure communication, you will learn very early on. And the opposite is true. When someone is right for you, secure communication will only draw two healthy people closer. So if you would like to know how you can practice this effective communication, I do have a separate video on effective communication with 5 principles. So feel free to check out that video, and I will see you again in my next video. Thank you for watching, and bye now.